ultimately, it comes down to conservatism. That's the It's hard to break down the big problem into its into a simple thing, but the macro issue, not this individual one issue, but the macro issue of the Israel Palestinian problem is conservatism. And here's why. The problem is people like Benjamin Netanyahu, Likud, other political parties that are the political slash religious conservatives of Israel, they will keep pushing the settlements into the West Bank, taking land, occupying land that should be part of the Palestinians, that should be controlled by the Palestinians. They keep pushing and pushing and pushing and taking those lands, thinking that they have the right to all of it. They keep being apologists for the settlements. They keep defending the settlers, and they keep justifying it. They use the actions of all Palestinians as a threat, and not just looking at Hamas, but they'll use all Palestinians as a potential threat. And they stoke fear, and they campaign on fear that the Palestinians are out to get you. And that's what they campaign on, and that's what they rely on. They rely on fear of the Palestinians, not just Hamas, but the Palestinians. And if you don't elect them, if you don't let them keep their power, then they're going to come after you and they're going to kill you. So you have to keep electing them. So they rule by fear and hatred. Then look at the American conservatives. The American conservatives continue poking. They're like, yeah, go ahead, Israeli conservatives. That's they help. They push them to do the settlements. They'll fund the settlements. They'll set up PACs to help, support the settlements. And why do they do that? Not for good reasons, but because according to Christian religious philosophy or prophecy, in order for the end times to come, you need a whole bunch of Jews living in Israel, so when the end times come, the bunch of Jews can die first. With friends like that, who needs enemies? So, American conservatives don't like Muslims, don't like brown people, for the most part, and they're more than happy to see the Israelis go after Muslims. They're more than happy to see Israelis go after Arabs. They're more than happy to see all that. So if they can get the Israelis to do their dirty work, and they're more than happy to support the Benjamin Netanyahus and the Likud and all the other conservative political parties over there. But there's also Hamas. Hamas are the religious conservatives of the Palestinian side. Hamas, in their charter, is the idea that they want to push every Jew into the sea. They don't want to coexist with Jewish people, with Israelis. They want to exterminate all the Israelis. They stoke fear in the hearts and minds of the peaceful Palestinian people that all of the Israelis are out to get you, and so therefore you need to keep us in power to make sure that we can go after the Israelis and keep you safe from them, and go after them to make sure that they don't come after you. So the people in Hamas and the people in Likud are in a mutually beneficial relationship almost. Because in order for Likud to keep power, in order for Netanyahu to keep power, in order for the Israeli conservatives to keep power, they need Hamas to keep doing what they're doing. And in order for Hamas to keep power, in order for them to justify their existence, they need Likud and Netanyahu and the Israeli conservatives to keep doing what they're doing. Because if both sides stopped, you would have no justification for either to keep power. Their reason for existing, their reason for being in power would go away. So both of them need each other to exist. And if both of them stopped existing, if you stopped having the conservatives in power and you stopped having Hamas being in control, you might actually have a chance for peace. But you don't, because every time you have Benjamin Netanyahu and Likud and the Israeli conservatives justifying, enabling the settlers over there and doing actions that harm peace-loving Palestinian folks, taking over more land, occupying more land with settlements, you end up creating more and more people who can be radicalized by Hamas. And then every time you have Hamas launch an attack, kill an innocent person, kidnap somebody, every time that happens, you create an additional person who now wants to vote for Benjamin Netanyahu, who to keep, strength in power to make sure that you're going to fight the people in Hamas. It's a self-perpetuating cycle that somebody somehow needs to stop. And so far, nobody is finding a way to stop the cycle. There's nobody to break the wheel to keep to prevent the cycle from keeping on and going. You need some way to stop that wheel. And this is not a whataboutism argument. This is not a, well, they're doing it too argument. This is a macro argument about macro responsibilities. This is not even touching on what happened this weekend. This is just touching on the overall 10,000, 30,000 foot overview picture of the problems that are going on in that area. Because you have Likud in power, because you have Netanyahu in power, because you have the justifications of all these bad actions on the part of Israel, you have the increased chances of radicalization on the Palestinian people, which makes it easier for Hamas to recruit, because then you have more Hamas recruits and more Hamas power. Hamas then can go attack, and more Hamas attacks means more votes for Likud. Lather, rinse, repeat. There's no end in sight. So somebody has somehow, some way, you have to stop the cycle from happening. That is the problem over there in a nutshell from the macro point of view.